Our next speaker is Mr. Dane Espegard. A little bit about Dane. So Dane first started back in June of 2002 rather, in our Brookfield, Wisconsin office. Kind of his brief vector history. So Dane started as a representative in that office. Then he was promoted to assistant manager. He went from the assistant manager role, then to the sales manager role, and then from the sales manager role to the pilot sales manager role, all in the Brookfield office and all while in college. Upon graduating, Dane was promoted in 2006 to district manager. That year, they were the number 5 office in the nation. He was promoted to division coordinator on January 1st of 2009. He moved to Minneapolis in November of 2012, where he ran in 2012. And he's run, this is such an impressive stat, he's run a $2 million office every year from 2013 to 2020. And recently they've been doing quite the Silver Cup shuffle in the dream team over there. They won a Silver Cup in 2018. Currently he's running the number 1 office, and I also believe the number 1 division. Their year-to-date sales is $1.8 million. And some of Dane's personal interests are his wife, Brooklyn, and his 2 little girls, Eland and Izzy. To talk about your path forward, Mr. Dane Espegard.
Thank you. I love how you say one of my interests is my wife and my kids. But I figure it's only fitting if we North Star, you know it. Jock jams, huh? All right. I figure that's a good start. All right, I've got to wear headphones because there's some feedback from the other TV that's playing in there as well. Okay, I get to talk to you guys. I get the honor of talking to you about your path forward. Let me start by just saying, I just want to recognize everybody that went through. You went through your first, second, third, whatever, SC2. Every single year, SC2 is a challenge. It's meant to be a challenge. That's why we talk about it. That's why we sign up for it. That's why we do it. We do it because it's hard. That's where we get the growth. That's where we get the experience. And that's when we look back and say, that was amazing, right? I explained before the difference between type 1 and type 2 fun. And type 1 fun is like the enjoyable the entire time, having a blast doing this. Type 2 fun. Type 2 is that it's not necessarily fun in every moment, but later on looking back, it's like, wow, that was quite the experience. Look at SC2 and what many of you did together throughout these last 17 days. And it's remarkable. This was my 19th SC2, and every single year I'm inspired by the performances around me. And this year was no different. Everybody, obviously we have the whole region that's here right now, but I get a firsthand front row view of everything that happens in North Star, obviously, because that's the division that I get the pleasure of working with. And I can confidently say this year was the most riveting, most exciting, largest sales finish that we have ever had in the last 4 days. And that, it was amazing to see people just grit it out. And what I love about this job is I got the opportunity to see people literally develop and tap into different skills that they didn't even know they had before the push started. In the last 4 days of something where people are wanting to quit, but they don't, like, that's where those things are really developed. And so I want you to kind of acknowledge yourself to say, hey, I that was me. I tapped into some stuff that maybe I haven't found before. I got to see tears, right? Not just tears of crying because I'm sad, but tears of excitement. And we had somebody in our office that hit $20,000 at 11:54. Not technically part of Minneapolis office, but physically in the office. And they hit at 11:54. And how cool for that to happen. That individual, Shaylee, you'll get your recognition later, 78 orders in the push, right? And stuff like that, that's just like, that I wasn't capable of that when I was a student. I didn't tap into that when I was a student. I love seeing that type of stuff. So if you had the opportunity to grow over the course of the push. What I want you to understand is that the sales role that we have here at Cutco and Vector is the tip of the iceberg. It really is. So I want you to write down, first word I want you to write down is growth. Having a growth mindset, right? Now, many of you might not recognize that a growth mindset is really, it's kind of baked into what most of you do in the fact of like going to college, right? Like if you choose the path of college, when you go down that route, you're choosing a growth mindset, right? That path is growth. The idea is go to school freshman year, then sophomore year, then junior year. Your sophomore year, you get the opportunity to take a little bit more advanced classes than you did your freshman year. After you get that down, you get into the junior material and then your upper level things on your senior year. And so that's the idea of life, is that you should be stacking things on top, right? You should be, every year, you should be more talented, right? More educated and more able to achieve a different level of success and happiness and fulfillment than what you've had before. So that's the first thing, is write down growth. The next thing I want you to write down is vector trained. And this is a term that Jeff Gamboa, a peer of mine, a division manager for South Florida area, and he kind of termed or coined this hashtag vector trained. And if you haven't listened to he's one of the Changing Lives Selling Knives podcasts on this. I think the title is Vector Trained, and it's an awesome episode if you haven't listened to it. But what I want you to understand is that sales, what you've gone through this summer, if you're new, if this is your first summer, your first SC2, what you've been able to gain so far is really just the tip of the iceberg on what we have to offer. And the opportunity to test other things out, that's management, that's development. That's what I'm going to talk to you here about. So I do have some slides. Yeah, somebody, if you want to drop the link to that podcast, I think that'd be great for people to hear, because that's really in accordance with what I'm going to be talking about here. Okay, so I do have slides. Let's throw this up there. All right. So here are all the different positions. And I think that it's important that you at least know what these are. Take a little snapshot of these. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide right here, but these are all the different positions that are available to you within Cutco. It's a lot. And what I love about this is we only promote from within. And it's not a like, hey, you have to be here for a certain amount of time before this and before this and before this. And that's something I think is really unique about Cutco. So let's talk about all these positions. And I'm gonna get to kind of a point towards here at the end. I'm also going to talk about your opportunity in selling Cutco professionally. Okay, so this is not just a management talk. This is a, hey, here's all that we have to offer. Okay, so assistant managers, it's kind of like wearing two hats. You have two part-time jobs. You're going to be selling consistently. And who was it? Quentin, amazing message earlier. I think everybody's calling him Q on there. Awesome message earlier. And he really laid it out perfectly. He's like, hey, I was doing 4 to 6 presentations a week during school. And then I was also getting the opportunity to do some management things such as coaching and some of the HR things. But when you're an assistant manager, you get the first experiences with leadership, with hiring, which again goes into HR. Like that's such an amazing, every company, right, has a need for that. And on top of that, even if you're never going to find yourself in HR, when you help in a Cutco office learning those skills, you're that much more skilled when it comes to you being interviewed for your dream job in the future. You get to learn public speaking, you get to learn coaching, you get to learn time management, and you earn 2 different ways weekly. You know, that 10K plus is typically a summer income. It varies. It really depends on how much somebody's personally selling, but also, you know, what kind of office and involvement that they have that way. If this is a position that could appeal to you for next year or for this fall, right? The key is to get into Leadership Academy. Okay, so again, if that's a role that you think appeals to you, Leadership Academy is the path for you. Sales manager. So sales manager, it's a lot. Notice it's a lot of the same stuff an assistant does. They have more responsibility in the office. They have more leadership, more influence, and they're going to earn a higher percentage from what their office role is. Okay, so what this role does is it takes away quite a bit of the sales emphasis, and it's a lot more just the office stuff. How to get into this? Leadership Academy, same idea, right? So the idea with both of these is that Leadership Academy is going to be there to be able to teach you these. You know, our Leadership Academy essentially goes from August for most divisions, and I'll talk about Leadership Academy through the following April. It doesn't mean that you have to complete Leadership Academy to become an assistant manager. There's going to be a lot of people that become assistant managers while they are also in Leadership Academy learning those skills. Think about Cutco. We train you for 3 days to go out there and do a sales job, right? Are you really ready? No, the Cutco way, the Vector way is like, hey, get you the basics, get you some confidence, and then learn on the job. Get out there and learn while doing. And that's what we do for leadership and management and really everything across the company, which I think is a great way to do it. We give you extra responsibility. Branch managers, what a summer. This is a time-specific job. And what I mean by this is this opportunity is this summer. So people will train to become a branch manager. And the branch manager position is 7 and 7. Okay, so what that means is that for 7 weeks, they're advertising, they're interviewing, they're accepting, training, developing their own people for their own teams. They're running meetings. They're creating their own business plan. They're adjusting their projections. You get Colton's message and all of the things that he's doing now for his startup. This is what a branch does. And he learned that doing it here, round 1 and round 2, getting better at it, right? And now his 3rd time is out at an actual startup with heavy dollars invested. And I think that that's so cool for him to come back today and kind of make those connections to say, hey, when I was branching, I didn't necessarily know what the end goal was. And anybody who has any entrepreneurial aspirations, you get so much experience with this. What we say is everything in an MBA. It's obviously not everything that an MBA has, but it's experiential learning. And instead of learning a management concept or business concept in a book and being like, oh, that's really interesting, I could see how maybe that applies. It's like, no, you actually get the real lessons. And by the way, do lessons always feel great? No. Branch managers this summer, you got a lot of lessons, and not all the lessons feel awesome. My daughter got a lesson last year with sparklers, and the lesson was don't put your hand on it, right? She's never going to forget that lesson, but it didn't feel good when she, gripped the sparkler and put it out with her palm. And so that's what some of the branch managers, like they do things over the course of the summer. That's like, hindsight 2020. I don't know if I would have done it the same way next time, but they get that experience for 7 weeks. So they build, train, and develop their teams from basically May through June. And then they build relationships and sell it straight 50 for the back half of the summer. So when you guys hear a manager say that, oh, this person's making straight 50, that means that they're not getting bonus money. Their company's paying them flat 50%. In our division, Elliot James went out and ran last week, $500 off that, right? Zach, 20 grand or something last week, $1,000 right away on his paycheck before any of his branch overrides. So branch managers, if somebody goes down this path, we're very, here's how branch managers paid. That's not what this message is, so I'm not going to cover how a branch gets paid here. But the branches, it's a relatively low risk opportunity to get business ownership on the resume. And that's, you can't find business ownership experience with zero risk. Like it just doesn't exist, right? And so there has to be some risk. That's that's kind of the magic of that entire experience, is that you're putting yourself out there. And Cutco, through that selling at straight 50%, has mitigated a lot of that risk. So how do you have this life-changing experience of branching? You get into Leadership Academy, okay? Veteran branch manager. Many of you are branches right now this summer. And what I can tell you is the first time that you branch, at the very end of the summer, if you were to document everything that happened, you immediately would be able to see, like, I could 2x to 3x my business. Absolutely. And to be able to know that is one thing, to be able to do it is a second thing. And that's the part that I think a veteran manager really gets to see. It's that, hey, not every summer is the same. Not every season's the same, right? When Colleen used, and I agree, selling $1,000 is like winning a Super Bowl, basically. What she was saying with Tom Brady, I think. Not exactly, but the idea of, everything is a little different, right? Every single game is a little bit different. Every season within our business and every other business out there is not exactly the same. So being able to get those lessons makes us faster to make decisions, more nimble, right, in our decision making. And how great is that for any future thing that you do? And so that the whole scaling aspect, I think, is really important as well. So How do you become a veteran branch manager? It's going through Leadership Academy a second time, right? Second or a third time, because we hear things differently. We learn things differently each time that we go through it. Pilot sales manager, there's one of these in each division, okay? Only one. And what I put here is they work next to the most influential, most knowledgeable, and most experienced person in that division, right? So every division has their own division manager. And the reason that somebody would do this, what I like, the way that I would sell this position is I'd say very transparently, it is the hardest worked position, maybe in Vector. And you've got to run somebody else's organization to their standard with a shred of the experience that they have. And with that really experienced person looking over your shoulder the entire time to point out all the areas of opportunity to grow your business. And so it's an expedited experience curve. And you get to see firsthand why people succeed and fail. I'm here, by the way, not representing Brain Fuel today. I'm representing Caribou Coffee. That's the sponsor that I have for the day. But you get to see firsthand within offices of why people succeed, why people fail. And you also get to learn how to think like a top performer. And so, the pilot sales manager is privy to a lot of conversations that most newer managers aren't necessarily going to have at that point. So this is typically somebody who's a little more experienced, maybe a former branch manager, sometimes a former district manager, sometimes an up and comer that's got, a ton of gusto behind them as well. District manager, this is where you get to be your own boss, set your own schedule, unlimited income opportunity, professional and personal growth, being a teacher and mentor. There's not a lot of things that feel better than being able to be in a position of influence to teach people valuable skills. And I think about people that become teachers. It's like, that's why they do it. They want to make a difference. And what I love about Vector is I get those experiences all the time. When I was a district manager, division manager, we get that also. But that feeling all the time of being able to say, I make a difference, right? Like that person, I taught them a skill that is useful. And so district managers, that's what they get. They also get the opportunity to travel a lot. They get to drive their own BMW 300 series, 3 Series black BMW once they've been a district manager for 20 months. And they get to live their dreams. And we'll talk a little bit about that here coming up as well. But the district manager opportunity has never been better. They have really, they have what a lot of people would work at a corporation for a decade, 2 decades, what it would take them to be able to get here in terms of the autonomy, right? The mentorship, the experience, the income opportunity, and obviously the car is not a bad perk either. So Leadership Academy, everybody that's a district manager has gone through the Leadership Academy as well. Veteran district manager, it's the same thing, except increased lifestyle, increased income, increased influence. So if you're a newer district manager, what you got to understand is that what you're doing right now, that's not the district manager position. That's the district manager position in year 1 or in year 2 or in year 3, right? And the idea is that as a district manager develops their business, they get an increase in these areas as well. So again, through Leadership Academy. Division manager, that's the role that I have. Which, again, I think there's 8 of us in Central Region, but it's all the DM stuff, right? Really the veteran DM stuff, plus deeper relationships, even more autonomy, even more responsibility, more income, and more influence, right? So it's that heightened, okay? Leadership Academy as well. I went through Leadership Academy many years. Region manager, I still have no idea, right? And so it's one of those things where you got to get to that position before you know what they do. No, I'm just kidding about that. Mike does a ton, but maybe shave your head, you get to that position. All right, professional sales. These are the different ways that we have to sell Cutco. You can sell Cutco as a demo rep, right? Which is what you guys learned how to do. You could be a service rep on the events team, closing gift consultant, and business gift consultant. Let's go fast through these. You know what a demo rep is. I don't need to tell you what that is. It's selling Cutco one-on-one. Okay. Service representatives specializes in selling to past customers. This means servicing Cutco. So it's going in home or to a predetermined area where people are coming in to bring their Cutco to get it sharpened. You're sharpening it up, and then you're specializing in upgrades. You're selling them more Cutco. This is after somebody gets, I believe it's to $15,000, you can talk to your manager about how do I get service certified, right? So there's another certification for this, but you got to be at 15 grand in sales for that. Okay, so mark that down. And yeah, attend the certification and Leadership Academy for that as well. The events team, this is where you get to sell Cutco at fairs, conventions, shows, you travel around. You need to be service call certified. And then you're part of your division's team. And each division has their own events training. In North Star, we have our next one this coming Tuesday. And so we'll be onboarding more people. For most divisions, go ahead and write down, you need to be at $20,000 in sales. Okay, so most divisions, it's $20,000 in sales for that. Same deal, getting the Leadership Academy, attend certification, and fair and show training. Okay, this is an exciting program, CGC. So this means Closing Gift Consultant. And what these people are doing is they're selling Cutco to people that are real estate agents and lenders mostly. Okay, and so what their process is different. What most of you do is you make demo calls, right? Schedule a one-on-one appointment, you do the one-on-one appointment, you make a sale on the spot. Okay, so this is a little bit longer term. And so what you're doing here is you're calling offices, like real estate offices, to get a team meeting set up. Then you perform a team meeting either in person or on Zoom. Each office is a little different. Then at the team meeting, you guys know how we have team meetings for Cutco. The real estate offices do the same thing. So you would pop in, be a guest speaker about your program. Anybody who's interested would give a business card, or it's a little different if it's virtual. And then you follow up to give kind of close the sale one-on-one. This creates residual business. We had somebody last year, Sarah Schiff, in our division. Sarah sold, you got to be at 30 grand to get into this program. So go ahead and write that down, 30K. But Sarah, she sold 30K in her first 3 months. And then she went through the training right when Princeton said, we're going to be 100% online for the fall. While she was about to be an incoming freshman at Princeton, Princeton said, we're all online. Oh, and by the way, tuition's still 60 grand. Right? So what did she say? She said, I think I'm going to put deferral on that. I'm going to wait a year. So she decided to go all in with our CGC program. And between August of last year and now, she's sold $120,000 or $130,000 right around there since August as an 18-year-old. She just turned 19. So my point in saying that is she's actually earned pretty much a full year of tuition at Princeton in her year of deferral. And now she's going to be a freshman this fall. So this is a really cool opportunity. Each territory, a little different. We can't have 20 of these per division. But what I will tell you is every division in Central Region has openings for this. So talk to your DVM about this. How do you get into this? Developing a great relationship with your manager, selling 30 grand, and Leadership Academy. You guessed it. All right. Business gifts. You can sell to business owners for appreciation, holiday, etc. We have one of the best in the entire company in our region. His name is John Cloby. He just had a $6,000 sale yesterday, right? Phone call, closed the order, 6 grand, just like that. This is similar to the closing gift program. Talk to your manager about this, and they can put you in contact with John Cloby, who can help facilitate your growth in this area as well. All right, now let's talk about this. This is a lot. I'm talking about a lot of things. There are so many, this is what I love about Cutco. There's so many different positions, so many different things that you can do. So everybody here starts as a demo rep, right? That's what I'm going to call you, as a demo rep. All right, after that, you could become a service representative when you hit 15 grand, or after you get to 30K, you could become events team rep. Or after that, you can become a closing gift consultant. You also have the opportunity to do business gifts or get promoted to be an assistant manager, right? So from demo rep, those are kind of your 5 paths, if you will. You could also keep selling Cutco as a demo rep, which many people do, okay? Like Q, who you heard from, is at about, I think, $98,000 in sales, if you include SC2, and that's all on demo rep, okay? Now, as many of you are assistant managers this summer. As an assistant manager, the normal path is that you have the opportunity then to become a possible sales manager. But some people will actually go from a sales rep straight to sales manager. So there's nothing that says you have to become an assistant before a sales manager, okay? Now, once you become a sales manager or an assistant manager, you can become a branch manager. Running your own show, business ownership at the ripe age of however old you are. Nobody cares, right? There's no age requirements for this. You know what's really great? You could also go straight from rep to branch manager, right? I'm going to tell you some examples of that here in a little bit. Now, I will say the only way to become a veteran branch manager is to be a branch manager. That makes sense, right? Okay. Now, after being a branch manager or a veteran branch manager, you could become a pilot sales manager. You could also go from assistant manager, sales manager, or branch manager, or demo rep, or pilot sales manager to district manager. Have I lost anybody yet? Okay, so the road to being a district manager, any of those could lead to being a district manager. So we actually have people in our organization, Callie Nielsen, for instance. Callie's a new district manager in our division. Last summer, she was a demo rep. She started in July of last year, and this summer she opened as a district manager. So she was an assistant manager in the school year. She skipped everything else and went straight to district manager. Now, the only way to become a veteran district manager is after being a district manager. After you're a veteran district manager, you can become a division manager. And then I believe after becoming a division manager, you could become a region manager. All right, now there's a few other little iterations here. Sometimes people that are branch managers, so they become an assistant manager, then they go to branch manager, then they join the events team like Burt Wicks. Other people become a branch manager. So branches, I'm talking to you right now. So sometimes after getting that professional training and learning how to run a business, you go into the events team and you're an absolute killer. Or you go from branch manager to closing gifts and you find you kind of find your sweet spot there. Some people after branch manager go to being a business gift person. Other people after being a district manager like Mike Dowd go and crush the events team world. You guys know that? Mike Dowd was a district manager for years. Or district manager to closing gifts. Isn't this just an awesome visual here? Look at all of these different positions that you can do. Now, here's what I need you to see. The purpose of me showing that chaos was also to let you know there is no path. It's whatever you want it to be. And that's what's so great with this organization is that most places it's like you have to spend, like there's a lot of jobs that when you graduate from college, they've got a 2-year onboarding program, okay? And here's what it is. It's like, I'm gonna spend 5 months in this program, in this department, then I'm gonna rotate to 4 months in this department and 4 months to this department and so forth. That's not what it is here. You can move as fast as you want to. Now there is obviously some red tape if you wanna go rep to, region manager, like that stuff doesn't happen. But for a lot of those positions, it's as fast as you want to move with it. So look at some of the titans of our CSP community. Burt Wicks' first summer selling Cutco sold 24K on the right. His second summer, he ran a $45,000 branch and he sold 20K of that. His third summer, he was an AM. His fourth summer, he was an AM. His fifth summer, he was an AM. He grew his sales each summer. So that was all throughout college. When he was done with school, he was a CSP, 118, 255, 330, 425, 520. Guys, I want you to think about that. What does that mean? That means that each year that he was a full-time CSP, he went from 118 to 250. He grew his sales almost 100 grand every year, which means he grew his income $50,000 a year. That's awesome. Seth Kinzer, 33 grand for summer. Then he branched, he sold 70 grand. His office did 70. He sold 19K. Then he graduated from college and he was a CSP, 180 grand, 200 grand, 230. Then look at that growth, 300 to 390 to 430 to 530 to 670 to 745. Last year in COVID, I didn't update this last year, his 12th summer, he sold 550 and that was through COVID, right? What is he at this week? $60,000 this week he's at. Isn't that crazy? That's what his branch did. So again, these guys went through Leadership Academy. Mike Dowd, all these guys went through Leadership Academy. Mike Dowd, 27 grand. Then he sold 101 grand for the year. And he's an AM for the summer, AM for the summer. He DM'd for 3.5 years, 255, 5,400. He was a solid district manager, but he knew that after doing that for a while, that he could really excel in professional selling. Look at his growth, right? 225, 300. 400, 502, 601, 702, 750. Really awesome to see that. How about the DVMs? Sometimes people want it, like, it's easy to see the finished product or where you see it today, but how do they get there? My first summer, I sold about $18,000. Then I was an AM that sold a whopping $12,000 my next summer. Then I was the sales manager for that same office and I sold $8,000. Guys, nobody was like, "Ooh, you know who the up and comer is? That guy, 20K sold combined over the last couple of summers." That's not the case. I was just a dude that was a sales manager in an office after being in that office for 3 years. Then I got the opportunity to be a pilot sales manager, and then I became a DM. I'm showing you that. And then, by the way, a new DM, and then I was a DM for 2.5 years before being a DVM. Greg sold 14 grand, then he branched, then he was a new DM for 16 years. Then he was a division manager. Then you have Danny. Look at his exact sales. That's how much he sold his first summer. Then he was an AM. Then he was a branch, or excuse me, an AM in a branch office. Then he branched. Then he was a vet branch. Then he was a rep before the CSP position existed. Then he was a DM. Then he went to be pilot for 2 summers, and then he was a DM. So like that, these are perfect examples of there is no normal. Buddy sold AM, branch, pilot, new DM, right? And then there's where he's at for his pilot. Jason sold AM, branch, new DM, out the door. How about our vet DMs, right? How about the new DMs? Now, this is before. So Jacob and Casey Fenlon, right? Look at these guys' results. They were reps and sales managers, and then they branch, new DM. So both of the, if you wonder like what builds great success, it's different experiences. It didn't mean that they grew their business all the time, but they're getting different experiences working with different people. How about this right here? Elliot went straight from, from selling 36,000 to branching the next summer. And then he branched again as a vet. Alex Funk was sold 30K and he branched and now he's pilot. You see Gabby's numbers on there. Zach Moser last year sold 80 grand in the summer, branched this summer. Jack Ryan, he was a 30K rep one summer. Then he was a sales manager. So he went rep to sales manager to branch. I'm giving you so many experiences and what I want you to, or so many different examples because there isn't a normal. Here's what I really want to impress upon you. When somebody thinks of, so one of the things we don't talk a lot about is that you have so much opportunity outside of Cutco. And I want you to know that, right? You heard Colton say that. You heard him say, hey, one of the things is that what he recognizes when he left, that when somebody can say they succeeded here, outwardly, people are like, that's awesome. So, hey, when you crush it here, you have more opportunity that's available to you. Doesn't mean that you should leave, but it means that you should be aware of it. And what I have always told myself, I don't think that I'm short on opportunity in life. I don't think that I'm here because I couldn't be somewhere else. I think I'd be thriving anywhere that I go because of my experience with Cutco. But one of the things I think is really important is when somebody leaves something, they've got to be looking at, do I like the culture of where I'm at? That matters because that's the enjoyment. Do I like the people? Do I support the product and the mission of what they're trying to do? And can I still grow? Can I still grow? And if I find a place that has this, that is a culture that I love, people that I really can get behind and enjoy and want to spend my time with, I love the product, can support the mission, and I know that I'm not done growing, why would I leave? I'm still here 19 years later because I can say yes to these things here. I still believe that there's another level that I can grow to here within the Cutco model, within vector marketing, within Central Region, with Mike's mentorship. And that's what really matters. And so when you think of these things, you have options. You're putting yourself in a position of choice by being here. What I want to get across to you is that Leadership Academy is the thread throughout all of the things that I was talking about. That's where you get the actual training of, the kind of the book knowledge, if you will, to put lessons to actually what's happening on the day-to-day through your offices and through your experiences. I want to encourage you to explore those opportunities with your manager. I hope that you have a little bit of idea of what some of these programs and some of these positions, you can engage in some of those conversations with your manager. You know, the cool thing about Cutco is we don't have any shortage of opportunity for anybody who's here, right? Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of Central Region. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Outstanding message, Dane. Let's give Dane a big round of applause. You know, if there's anything that you took away from that message, I hope there was a lot, but you know, one of the main themes is I've never met anyone in my life that says I had too many options, right? And you can never have enough. And by getting into Leadership Academy, what you are doing is you are putting yourself in a position of choice, whether you think you're going to be here for the next, month, year, or in my case, the last decade. You can never have too many options.